Charlie Walton with the BPM Microsystems field service team. Today I'm going to show you how to thoroughly clean the vacuum system on a 3000 series auto handler.
Okay, we're going to start up here and we're going to cut this tie wrap. Okay, after cutting the tie wrap, we're going to free the wire harness. That's going to be the Theta motor, the vacuum transducer, and the laser pointer. Next, we're going to remove the laser pointer, and that's going to be 2 set screws, one at the front, loosen, and one on the side, loosen. Okay, remove the laser pointer and set it aside. Now, this exposes the inside of the vacuum block. Inside the top of the vacuum block, you'll see a glass disc, and underneath that, an O-ring. So you can remove the glass disc, set it aside. Actually, you want to inspect it and make sure. Normally there will be a pile of dust here, and you just wipe that off. What that dust does, it accumulates over time, and it prevents the vacuum pointer from shining through the glass disc. So if you have a degraded laser pointer, the glass disc is probably dirty, because the suction action of the vacuum takes dust in the air and shoots it straight up, and that's what it hits, is the bottom of that glass disc. Okay? Next, we will remove the vacuum block. There will be 2 screws. One of the screws may or may not contain a grounding wire. It depends on the model of system you have. The screws are fairly long. Okay, the vacuum block now, we'll need to disconnect it. We can disconnect the hose from the vacuum elbow. We can also remove the elbow. And we can remove the vacuum transducer or vacuum switch, depending on the model system that you have. Okay, and that now exposes the top of the Theta motor. On the top of the Theta motor, you will see that there is a Vseal. Okay, so the Vseal on top of the Theta motor makes a vacuum seal to the bottom of the vacuum block. Okay, you can carefully just slide this seal off, and this is what it looks like. You want to check it to see if it's worn. This one looks pretty new. They're very inexpensive. You should have many on hand, and every time you go in here, you should replace it. Okay, the underside of the vacuum block has a recessed area with a flat surface, or what should be a flat surface, and this is what that Vseal slides on, and it makes a vacuum seal. But you need to keep this lubricated, because a dry rubber on the metal will eventually wear away your Vseal. So use a Q-tip to clean this recess and apply a light film of grease. Okay, next we want to inspect the vacuum transducer or vacuum switch. Over time, the little orifice in here can get clogged with dust. So you want to visually inspect that. If you see dust, don't take anything and push it in there. You'll just press it inside. So you can gently tap it and see if any dust comes out. Your elbow fitting, you can blow it out, make sure that there's no dust that has collected inside this orifice. Finally, take your block and then inspect right through this hole, they're connected. Make sure that they're clear, otherwise take compressed air and blow it out. Blow it out here, here, and right through the middle, and make sure this block is completely clean. So we're going to reassemble now that everything is clean. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our Vseal is in place on top of the Theta motor. We'll slide that down. I will note that on the Theta motor, there are 3 little O-rings. They're recessed down in there, and they act as spacers to hold this Vseal at the proper height so that it makes a good vacuum seal against the vacuum block. Notice how the block doesn't sit completely flush. You have to push down a little bit, and that's applying pressure to that Vseal. Again, a light coating of grease inside that sealing surface. Let me also say that here is where you would replace a Theta motor if you needed to. The Theta motor is held on to the L bracket by 2 screws up underneath. Note also that when you change the Theta motor, you will have effectively changed the X and Y position of all your teaches, and you will probably need to reteach all of your locations after changing the Theta motor. Okay. And we will take and reinstall our elbow air fitting. Just snug. And also the vacuum transducer. Just snug. Okay? Now, when you place this vacuum block on top of the Theta motor, you want to look down inside and center the motor shaft to the center of the hole in the block. This will align the laser pointer correctly so that it will fire right down through the center of the hole. And then tighten the 2 screws. Again, if your machine has a grounding lug, go ahead and connect that grounding lug to either the front or the rear screw. It does not matter. In this case, the screw is in the front. Okay, and we can reconnect the air. And you also want to put a thin layer of grease on this O-ring before you reassemble. The grease will help make a good vacuum seal against the glass disc. Okay, now we will reinstall the laser pointer. The position here does not matter, the rotational, but when you tighten the 2 set screws, press down firmly to make a good vacuum seal against the glass disc, and then tighten your 2 set screws to help prevent vacuum leaks. Okay. And finally, it is vitally important to apply a tie wrap to these cables to hold them immobile as the head moves up and down. We have found that if the pigtails on the Theta motor are allowed to just flap in the breeze, they wear out and break the conductors inside very quickly, and that actually voids the warranty. So apply the tie wrap so that all these wires will not flop around when the head is in motion. Okay, so the inline vacuum filter here on the side of the head, it has a directional flow. Depending on the model, it could be, well, it is bidirectional by design. So you should replace and clean this filter, and the way you do that is apply backup pressure, push down and turn, and then lift out, and the cover will come out, and this is the actual element. And when this thing turns dark gray, it's time to replace it. You can also take a swab and clean it out if necessary. The filter will come with a replaceable O-ring. You can replace it if this one is damaged, but you should put a light coat of grease on it to make removing and installing the cover easier. So we'll clean that out. While you're here, you can also blow compressed air to clean out the lines. This is the vacuum generator. It's generally a long life part. It will wear out over time, especially if your compressed air supply has dirt, grit, oil, or water in it. Also, your machine will have 1 or 3 vacuum valves depending on which style of machine you have. So from the compressed air supply at the back of the machine, there's a hose here that runs to this point into a filter with a glass bowl. As part of maintenance, check this and clean it out periodically. This runs to the main regulator, which we want to keep at 80 psi. From the main regulator, the two 80 psi lines come here. The large one is for the air fitting on the tabletop for the laser marker, if so equipped. And this line right here will go through the E-chains up to the head to one of the vacuum valves mentioned earlier. The secondary regulator is the puff-off or low pressure regulator, and it will be regulated or set to somewhere around 15 to 25 psi. And then that low pressure line will run through the E-chains also up to one of the valves in the head. Okay, well that concludes this lesson on thoroughly cleaning your vacuum system on a 3000 series auto handler. If you have any further concerns or questions, please contact Tech